And welcome back to Reality with Reality Hub. Well, it's a quiet old evening here in the Avondale Heights studios, isn't it, Rob?
It's a quiet and warm and humid evening.
Yeah. Wherever you are, I hope you're comfortable and relaxed. We just had a couple of our good friends in the studio. We had Marwin and Blair. Marwin Silerio, actor, personal trainer, and Blair Strang, actor and family lawyer. And we're just hanging out, talking. I've got a show that I'm doing with them in a couple of weeks' time, which is on the 27th, 28th, 29th of February at the Hamilton Garden Arts Festival. So check it out at hgaf.co.nz. That's hgaf.co.nz for tickets to Morningstar. And we were just catching up and talking about the show and myth, legend, and archetypes and stuff that we see in life. And we had a lovely old time whilst eating a bit of dinner and having a couple of wines. So I hope you enjoy the show.
Big week, Marwin, at the gym.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
Big week.
You still doing your collecting your data and then doing all your
Yep. Still doing that. Still
Yep.
doing that. It's been a couple of weeks since I last did it, just because I've been so busy. Life admin.
yeah, and the gratitude journal, right?
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
What's
It's so good. I've been keeping a journal where a gratitude journal where every single day I just write down what makes me happy, what made me unhappy.
That's good.
Things to focus on for the next day to make me happy.
That's
Best parts
good.
of the day, and then at the end of the week on Sunday, I'll look at it all and tally up those certain categories. So I have like 9 different categories about career, family, and stuff like that.
And are you winning? Like what you're doing every day?
It's just so good to figure out where my attention goes.
Yeah.
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 That's the winning part of it.
Does it keeps you on track?
Keeps you on track, yeah. So if I have a plan to...
It's a good thing to do.
Yeah, I came from a context of I just wasn't clear on what I was doing and what I wanted to do. So
Can you get that right in your face, Marwin?
I hear.
Well,
Yeah.
Blair's got it right in his face because he's pulled so far forward.
Yeah.
But that's perfect. Thank you, Blair.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I'm here now.
We didn't have
Okay.
this problem last time, did we?
No, because I spent quite a bit of time setting up. Besides, I've had to take this back and forth to rehearsal. So
Yeah,
so
cool.
that sort of thing going on. Say something, Marwin.
Hello there, my name is Marwin. I live in Auckland. I'm from the Philippines and I am the warrior archetype.
Are you really?
I'm the lover. I'm the lover.
And Blair, if you could give us yours there.
He's the Satan.
I'm the outlaw.
The outlaw.
I don't know.
Is there an outlaw?
There is.
And it's me.
Right. Oh,
It's Rob.
I don't know what I am.
Who's the hero?
Stephen.
The hero's always the protagonist, apparently.
Currently, I'm the technician. Well, what does it say online? What was the... Airdrop it to me, Rob.
Well, you.
What?
Okay. Look, it's just a Google search.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can't do it. No, fair enough.
Oh, Safari, yeah.
It's a Safari thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thanks. Good to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to be here.
So who do we have in the studio today, Rob?
Well, to my right, we have Marwin.
¿Cómo está?
¿Cómo estás?
Haven't heard that for a while. And then to Marwin's right, and to your left is Blair.
Blair
Kia ora.
Horanius Bartholomew Wilberforce Strang.
Is that seriously the
Yeah.
My
the
name.
full name? Wow.
His full name. Blair Horanius
He made that up.
Wilberforce Bartholomew Strang.
No, you made that up. It's Anthony.
It rolled off your tongue. So
Is it actually
quickly.
Anthony?
Yes.
B-A-S?
Yep.
Baz.
Yeah, Baz.
Baz.
Oh, Baz. How you doing, Baz? It's not real. It's more a bass, isn't it?
Bass.
Steel Day.
Sea bass.
Is there a nickname for Blair?
There's a few that I've received over the years. Probably not appropriate for this medium, but
Oh, no, we have a big E on
Yeah.
our podcast. You're allowed to swear and shit.
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a nickname. But I've been called various things, you know.
And by,
I
other,
don't- I
and by
don't
other
know.
lawyers.
It's hard because Blair.
No,
I mean, you know, what do you got? I mean, how can you add to that? Blah.
Yeah, because
Baz.
because Steve-O,
that's
Rob,
right.
Robbo, you
Robbo.
know, Roberto.
Maui.
Maui.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or
It's-
Marwinator.
At school, I
Marwinator?
got called Strang.
Strang.
Yeah, Strang. Hey,
Yeah.
Strang. You know, that was about it. Yeah, so that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny, eh?
Yeah.
Nicknames.
Yeah. How are we feeling, guys?
Yeah,
It's fucking heaps of energy.
Man, it's been a long day.
Yeah, no, I can feel
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
In what way? Is in terms of
I got up this morning, and we're recording this on Valentine's Day,
yes.
and Bridget had put this beautiful circle of hearts on the ground. She'd made hearts, cut out hearts out of paper, and they were like a pinky white. And the circle on the ground, on the carpet, was easily 2 or 3 meters wide. Made out of hearts to make a heart shape, not a circle, but a shape of a heart itself. Yeah. And then inside that are these other little hearts, and on it is a word. On one heart it says I, and on another heart it says love, and another one it says you. And this more message, beautiful, beautiful. And the first thing I did when I woke up before I saw it was I was thinking, I've got a lot of work to do today. I've got to get the car to the mechanic. There's a bit of an issue. And I walk into the lounge and there it is. And it's stunning, you know? And my first thought is, fuck, I've got to clean this shit up. Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
But I love her so much. And
what a beautiful thing
I
to
send
do.
a message to her
Yeah,
and
it's
you were
pretty
amazing.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Does that speak
I
to
said,
your...
the guys are coming for the podcast tonight. They're not going to want to see this shit.
Actually, I wouldn't mind it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, well, I missed out on that, but...
You've got a partner?
No, I don't have a partner. That's why I missed out on
All
it.
right.
But does that speak to your love language?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, not really. No.
What is your love
No, I
language?
just saw that as
Yeah,
housework.
because what would that be in a love language? Is that a gift? Or because it's not acts of service.
Well,
you know what
I
love
would say
language
that
is,
was
don't
a
you,
gift.
Blair?
Wow.
It's more, yeah.
What's the
And showing
love language of
appreciation.
girls you've been with? Ladies.
Love. I'm just trying to think when I experienced it last. No, no, that sounds like a wanker. No. Well, it's a tough question, really, isn't it? Oh God, love. Is that what we're here to talk about?
That's a good question, Blair.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Love is in everything. Eating dinner. This is good. And what have we got there? This is Wither Hills.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, cheers. Cheers for bringing the wine.
That's all right. Pleasure.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
So we were going to talk about mythology, legends,
Myth.
and
Legend.
archetypes.
Maybe religion.
Any experts in the room on these
Absolutely
topics?
Not. No.
I've read a lot of mythology.
Yeah.
Right.
You're a
Yeah.
voracious reader.
Yeah, as a child, I used to read a lot of it and was fascinated with Greek mythology and
Yeah.
the Norse gods and of course Maori and anything I could get my hands on. To be honest, I
Yeah.
loved it. And I even believe it or not read the Bible, and because I consider the stories that or the mythology, if whether you believe it or not, very interesting. So I read the whole book of Revelations when I was about 8 or 9. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, you told me this the other day. I
Yes.
couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I read a whole lot. And
The Bible's a hard read, man, especially at 8 or 9 years of age.
well, of course, with child eyes, some of it you miss, but also at the same time, there's a movie by the name of Omen that came out, and just absolutely, it blew my mind when I read this, and then I watched the movie, and of course, I didn't kind of work out at the young age of 9. I snuck underneath my parents' bed to watch the Omen, by the way, and I didn't realize that, of course, it was fiction, portraying a part of the Bible. I just thought, oh my gosh, this is really happening, and it freaked the hell out of me. So, and 666, number of the beast, and the coming of the Antichrist and lots of stuff. So, it was, I love all that stuff, and that's why I love the current play that I'm doing called Morning Star. So,
Gee, what a subtle plug. What a subtle plug. That's brilliant.
In a nutshell or an elevator pitch, what is Morningstar?
it's about it's about a family, really, a family of angels, the first archangels, and their father, who spawned them, has started a new family. So
Right.
it's about a dysfunctional family, and it really is set around Lucifer and Gabriel and Michael, the archetype archangels that we all know, and the division at the beginning of time, and it also centers around the fall of Lucifer and the reason why. And
Right.
Albert has written a nice little twist on why Lucifer fell.
Yeah,
So it's like Lucifer's point of view.
sure. And you mentioned the father. Would that be
God.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
They call him the Father. We call him the Father, but we, I think people will know that he's God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. And
So who plays God?
Stephen's playing. No, Stephen's
Who
playing
knows?
Michael, and Marwy's playing Lucifer. They're doing a great job so far.
We've kind of skirted around this topic a couple of times recently because Marwin was in not so long ago. I said, "What are you doing next?" And he said, "Well, I'm doing a play with you, dipshit." But it's cool. It's cool to.
Yeah, and it'll be great. The
yeah.
Hamilton Festival's pretty vibrant. If you go down there, but we've done a show down there. Stephen and I have done one 4 years ago. Beautiful setting. The Medici Court is beautiful and it's vibrant. It's happening, and yeah, it's.
Hamilton's fast becoming a sort of a counterintuitive destination for a really good arts festival.
Well,
I can't believe, because Hamilton gets a lot of shit.
yeah,
But people are traveling to it. It's selling. It's a really busy place. It's great during the day. It's quite family friendly. And then
Yeah.
at night, you've got sort of concerts on at this particular arts
right.
festival. And it blows my mind because it's on the level of it's starting to become, I think, quite international. Certainly within New Zealand, it's competing really well. But it's starting to look like an emerging kind of festival. You expect that out of Wellington or Auckland. And not too long later, then there's one in Auckland in March, right? I think.
that's right. There's Auckland Fringe.
The Auckland Fringe. But
That's right.
shit, Hamilton's really putting it on. And people,
Absolutely.
like, good actors are going down there to do good shows. I mean, we're not the only ones going. There
That's
are
right.
other companies and
Well, Michael Hurst is doing his
Yeah.
one-man show down there. I know Shane Cortez, he's doing 1 or 2 nights down there with his band, I think. He's doing so there are, those are the ones that I know of, but there are other performers and production companies going down there. And it really is attracting, quite a pool of talent.
yeah, it's quite cool.
Does Hamilton have a dedicated theatre venue? Anyone know?
They've got a few.
They got
got a few.
Founders
Yeah,
Theatre,
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
they?
They've got
like
Founders.
the one that's well known.
Yeah.
There's another one there as well. In fact, I had to look at it for our show, but it wasn't quite right. But yeah, they've got a lot of lovely little theatres that that is commonly used. Actually, one that's kind of looks like a little bit like an art gallery. I can't remember the name of it. It's fantastic, but yeah. But the flower gardens are just it's very special. And if we get great weather and like we're having at the moment, geez, it's going to be magical for anyone who's performing there. Eh?
Yeah, because it's an amphitheatre and it's outdoors.
That's right. Yeah, Medici Court, beautiful.
Yeah,
I think it's Medici.
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 I think that's a hard chi. I don't know. I'm not Italian. Medici.
Medici.
Very Italian. Is it Italian?
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
Italian gardens, the Medici
Yeah.
Court.
Yeah,
Medici
Generosco.
Court.
Yeah, which is cool because it's got an upstairs mezzanine section, and we actually went to perform in it
Yeah, that's right.
4 years ago,
That's right.
And then-
2016, yeah.
and it just started to piss down, and we were moved to an alternate venue within a covered area of the gardens.
That's right.
I hope that doesn't happen.
That
but
happened at half time, didn't it? Did it happen at half time or did it happen at
no, maybe it did happen at halftime, and we resumed.
remember.
Yeah. So we went into this space that was all brick, and they quickly wrangled together a whole bunch of portable seating, and it worked out really well. And it worked out so well, we then stayed there for the next couple of shows that we did.
That's right.
Yeah, but this outdoor amphitheater is so special because I've never been to anything like that in New Zealand. You see it in Greek or Roman sort of, ancient 1,000-year-old type settings. This is more like 50-year-old after they reclaimed it back from the Hamilton tip. It used to be a rubbish dump, and they reclaimed the whole thing and turned it into the Hamilton Gardens. It's a real transformation. It's amazing.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Have you been there?
No, I haven't.
Oh, really?
No.
It's beautiful.
No, you got to come down and see it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I
You're-
haven't.
Like it's pretty incredible.
You literally go into a garden of a different country and you feel
Yeah.
like you're in that country.
Yeah, because they're all themed, and there's like a Japanese themed one and an Italian themed
Sure.
one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I've experienced the gardens, so I'm familiar with the Hamilton Gardens, but I don't think I've been to the
Oh, the
that,
arts
that
festival.
particular.
Oh,
the
yeah,
festival.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's pretty vibrant, the festival.
Yeah, it is. But I wanted to talk about archetypes and myth and stuff,
Yeah.
and because I think, in truth, why I think it's interesting. And we're doing a play with all these archetype figures in it who have these different qualities, you know, and you've got Gabrielle who's got so much empathy and she tends the master's garden and she lives in Eden. And you've got the warrior archetype in Uriel and the playful jester type of, well, I'm not going to say that. That's not true for Lucifer because he's so much more than that. But what sort of archetype would he be?
Who are you pointing to?
Actually, Marwin's playing Lucifer. Yeah. But Blair did the show last year, and he was Lucifer.
Yeah, no, but I've spoken.
I think Lucifer's a myriad of many of those archetypes. But in the main section of it, I think he's the king.
Yeah,
he's the king.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were those?
Because he's you know, I don't want to give away too much of the play, but there's a lot in Lucifer that is incredibly understanding.
Yeah.
You know, especially in the first half of it, before he, you know, and he's got a beautiful overarching journey throughout the entire play. But one of the things that I really relate to as an actor is his understandability.
Well, people forget that Lucifer in the Bible was the light bearer, the angel of light.
That's right.
And, you know, he was blessed with qualities of creating light within the universe, which is, of course, wonderfully ironic given that we associate him now with
eternal darkness.
Yeah,
damnation. But in actual fact, he was the guiding light for the universe, the creation of the universe. Yeah.
So somewhere along the lines, Lucifer's the definition or his myth has changed, or was that correct?
You mean in the show, or do you mean in just throughout the stories of telling?
The stories, yeah.
Well, Lucifer fell from grace in the Bible and became the head of hell, I guess. Blair can speak to that because I have not read the Bible. I just went to an Anglican school and had it shoved down my throat. But I'm pretty sure it's something along those lines.
Well, in actual fact, it's not even talked about in the Bible, to be honest. And in the book of Genesis, all of a sudden the serpent turns up. So you don't really talk in the Bible itself. It doesn't really talk about the story of angels, which is interesting. They kind of leave that out. Like there's a whole book called the Book of Enoch, and the Book of Enoch is a prophet, the prophet Enoch, who told the stories of these watchers, and the watchers were the ones that were essentially the angels that fell and the angels that remained in heaven and and also then lay with the humans and created the Nephilim. All this huge mythology, which moved away from the Bible, or the people who are structuring the Bible for whatever purpose, didn't, I guess, incorporate these stories into it because it kind of went off track. So you don't actually, the story of Lucifer is not there, although we do know about it. But essentially, he's there to represent everything that is wrong and everything that is, in our society. But that story hasn't actually come just from. It hasn't originated from Judaism or Christianity. It's actually come before that from the Egyptians, which have similar stories where there's
creation myth,
polytheistic religions, and then they've got the Satan type character, the God type sort of character, and the hero, and then there's also the fact that the Jews were slaves to the Egyptians for thousands of years, so therefore there's a possibility they may have incorporated some of the Egyptian culture as well, or the Egyptian mythology, or the gods, and then it's through the passage of time has come down to Christianity. So this kind of concept of there being yin and yang, good and evil, what's kind of the internal conflict within ourselves, has been there for as long as we understand civilization to be present.
Sure.
And it's just, now it's translated into what we understand, which is what we get brought up with, which is Christianity. Whether you believe it or not, but the symbolics, the symbolic gesture of each character, which represents dark and light, is the same. And so the purpose of our story is that, well, maybe dark had a bit more light than possibly has been how he's been represented through the passage of time, or through the passage of the Bible.
Yeah, I love this story because you see those different character types that you actually see in life. expressed out in this super character, this larger than life character who is who can actually be quite human too, and have all these foibles and things, but expresses power and exaggerated versions of a being, because they are not a caricature, but a super being. And then how that plays out when you are a super being with a whole bunch of other super beings, then you're all equal again.
Yeah.
You know, and you see people who embody those characters in daily life, like in your office or down at the supermarket, and you see the warrior being picking up his milk and people expressing different kinds of archetypes, and look at me, and this is who I express as, and I find that really interesting.
But Marwin, you were brought up in a very Christian family, eh? So
Yeah.
This must be interesting for you, this conversation in terms of, what you've experienced growing up, right?
Yeah, 100%. I was always brought up in the household that God was who we looked up to and who guided our values, and Satan was the root of all evil, and this is something that you fear. And then I've never actually heard the story of Satan told in the way that Morningstar had. So when I first ever came across the script, I was like, I found it so interesting, the reason why Lucifer even came to be in that spot in the first place, and even weirder for a Catholic kid to be like, I understand where Satan comes from. I don't blame him. I'd be interested to see what my parents would say about that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I had an interesting kind of Christian upbringing. I went to what is it, that thing that kids go to when you're a kid in a Christian family?
Oh, Bible school.
Well, not Bible school, but Sunday school.
Sunday school.
I'd go to Sunday school,
sorry.
and it didn't take very long, and I was like, well, I'm not really interested in this. But then the school I went to, the school was 3 days a week. Chapel for us, because it was Anglican. Yeah.
That was Dilworth, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Wasn't it the same for you?
Yeah.
Also Anglican.
Yeah. Well, at King's, when I boarded there, it was every morning.
Every morning?
Yeah. It was a 12-year-old. Yeah. So so we went every morning. I was in the choir, and I love the sermons. Like this one, but the sermons used to make. Sorry, the reverend used to make the sermons really interesting for us. This one sermon, this one reverend, he came from Dilworth. He was wonderful reverend. He talked. He equated the Bible with Star Wars, and peace and hope and love and envy and hate, and it was just amazing. So I love the stories. And when I grew up, I was a firm believer. Yeah, in that doctrine. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I still believe. Like I still believe in the entity of it, if we're going to go down that road. But it's not. If I'm to be honest, it's not based on the King James Bible. So it's not based on that. It's not based on Henry VIII wanted to kill all his wives, and he thought he'd change the Bible and everything about it to
suit his
needs.
requirements.
No, I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
No. I much like the Force, I believe there's a goodness and a dark that runs through all of us. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just went there. I went there.
No, goodbye.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of goodness running through you then.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. It's the wine.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's the wine. Yeah, it's good actually. I might have another drop of that if you don't mind.
You bring up a good point. There's an innate goodness. Well, there's good and bad. There's got to be a contrast. Like evil cannot exist without good. You need somebody to contrast against it. So if you have a character like a protagonist that's a hero, you need the anti-hero to give it the hero status and the contrast. I mean, that's just the way, as we talk about all the time, the way this reality is set up. So I guess there are characters which embody the good and evil.
Yes.
And because how many times do we watch a film and then we sort of side with the evil or the bad character?
Yeah, well, like Vader.
Yeah.
Vader, one of the greatest.
Well, not often, I suppose. I don't often side with the evil character.
Well, but some people do. Well,
it depends on how well made that film is. Because if it's a really well made film, then I do.
Black Panther, that's a great, villain. Killmonger. I
Oh,
rewatched that.
You
Yeah. Black Panther. Black Panther. Killmonger.
But I thought he was good. I thought he was good.
That's what I mean. He was a good. He was. You can side with Killmonger.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Right. He makes sense in what he's doing.
Yeah.
Even if some of the people in that story make him out as the bad guy.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what was the Marvel, the dude in, he collected all the Infinity Stones. What was his name? Thanos.
Thanos.
Yeah, arguably,
Interesting.
you could argue
Yes.
that he was a good guy.
Yeah.
Because
He was a population reductionist.
and he was saving the universe.
He's trying to save the universe.
Yeah.
To
bring balance.
through genocide.
Mhm.
But that is
Right.
Not necessarily
way.
the best way to do it.
No.
It's, well, as Marwin said, it's one way.
some way.
Yeah.
But what about someone like, I mean, just sidetracking, someone like Tony Soprano, the anti-hero archetype? You know, someone who clearly is the hero and you want to follow, and you're on his side the whole time. But intrinsically, he is not a good person. What he does is not good, right? He is selfish. He is self-absorbed. It's all about him. He kills people at will, but yet you can't help but. And I know it's the way they portray it in the television series. It's the anti-hero, but why is it we're drawn to that when deep down there's so many flaws? What does that, us as human beings?
Well, I don't know. I can't. I have a simple view of that, which is that we got so into his life, we couldn't help but want to see him be happy at times. You got so into his life. Sure, he killed people, and you go, "That's horrendous," but you saw his frustration. You saw what he was going through.
His vulnerability. And then,
yeah. And you go, well, I guess it's understandable then. You could understand it better when you took a viewpoint that was more understanding of that person's challenge, even though they're the bad guy. Yeah.
And I've never seen The Sopranos, but when I think about that, it might be also because a character like that portrays what we're already thinking at the extreme level of it.
Yep.
But he becomes the vessel and of what we're already thinking and wanting to say.
Yeah. Or something that you would possibly want to do in that situation, but never would do it. It's too horrendous. Yeah.
I think we admire characters that break the law, that push the boundaries, that take risks, because we personally wouldn't do that and go,
Can't do that,
but we almost
breaks your programming.
Yeah, breaks your programming, and there's that aspect of ourselves where we go, they're doing something that deep down maybe we're too afraid to do.
Yes.
For the ramifications, etc.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that's why we kind of maybe like the whole particularly if they're going, the whole film's about going against the police or structures or societal constraints, the government,
against the things that we're supposed to align with.
The guy who works for the government and then secretly starts going against them for their own benefit.
Yeah.
That's how leaders in real life are born, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Actually, one of the things I like playing about Archangel Michael in Morningstar is he is kind of the government.
He is.
He's towing the line, and he gets to he gets to tell a lot of people off, but at the same time, I know that character is flawed, and I know that he's a little bit high on power.
Yes,
and that in itself is a flaw.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all of the things that Lucifer's doing, and traveling to get to do and breaking the rules, my character would love to do secretly.
But just
couldn't.
But constrained by conformity and absolutely.
But you'd never if only I could face the idea of doing that, but I couldn't.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, I think people in life are like that. I think you meet people who are so caught up in the rules of the way you're supposed to live, they've never reassessed that maybe you don't have to look at it that way.
Yeah, what was that film? It reminds me of that film with Michael Douglas where he sort of broke out. Do you remember that film?
Michael Douglas.
Yeah,
so many
this is
good
going
films.
way back.
Is it The Game? And you had enough.
Not The Wolf of Wall Street.
You mentioned the whole. It's like
that was a Michael Douglas.
it's like you're sitting in a red light and you just want to run it, or you want to jump.
No, it had enough. It was called.
He had enough. He's
Falling Down.
Falling down.
I just he turns up to the takeaway joint and he orders a burger, what he thinks is a burger up there, and he gets this burger and he goes, "Look, I just want to know, do you think this is what I've ordered?" And they say, "Well, don't cause a problem, mate." And he just turns around and says, why am I causing the problem? Pulls out a gun because he's finally lost it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It says, why am I the issue here? I was just trying to get home.
Yeah, funny.
I think there's an element in like you want to contain and you just constrained, and then he just
had enough.
Had enough.
Just cracked up. He cracked and he was gone.
Yeah, right. Don't you just love these ancient alien videos that come up ahead of?
Oh yes, I love them.
Actually, I do.
I do watch the ancient alien videos. I like them.
Yeah. Well, they mentioned the Nephilim, and they mentioned the giants. They mention the things that, because, you know, you and I were talking earlier this week.
Yeah.
And you got to check this out, Rob. I think you'd be really, and for that matter, you too, Marwin. But
Thanks, bro.
Ragnarok on Netflix. And what were you saying about it? It had average Rotten Tomatoes, and then it jumped.
It started to increase. It jumped from 60%, and it was going right up 80%. Steel was like on Rotten Tomatoes. This is going up. It's ridiculous.
He was tracking it on Rotten Tomatoes on its reviews.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. But it was. Have you guys seen Ragnarok on Netflix?
So not to be confused, obviously, with the Marvel series.
I was going to say Thor, Ragnarok.
It is that. It is Thor. Yeah, it's Thor.
Oh.
But not as you would expect. No, because it's set in modern day.
In Norway.
Well, I guess so is the other one. Yeah. But it's set in Norway, and it's shot like to be honest, it's shot like any non-Hollywood local drama that you might find in any European country, or for that matter, Australia or New Zealand, like a local series. Yeah, so we have a family move to a town at the beginning, and that's just the setup for it, and that doesn't ruin anything. But as they move to the town, they discover they are in an environment where the legend of the Norse gods were begun, more or less, in that sort of region.
Right. Yeah.
And there are these archetypal, it's a good tie-in, there are these archetypal sort of figures in that story, because you've got the sorceress, this lady who's like a witch who touches one of the characters, and from then onwards he becomes Thor as a sort of 16-year-old, and he's discovering himself as Thor. He goes, shit, I've got all these powers, and he gets his eyesight back, and because he's got terrible prescription lenses, and you know, he suddenly can run the length of a mountain much quicker than anyone else, and he gets frustrated and throws something and breaks a world record accidentally, and he goes, oh, Jesus, look at that. And he's so you have this series that's growing, and they're discovering themselves, but at the same time you unravel through this series the mythology of the gods versus the giants, right?
That's right.
Didn't you know a bit about that, Blair?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, well, and you know, there's the backstory that the giants and the gods, they do a very good job of it, because the giants are effectively ruling the village, and they're beautiful. And it was said, amongst the Norse myths, that the giants were so beautiful that they could make you do anything. Basically, they could hypnotize you. But the only group of people that they couldn't do that to was the gods, and
they couldn't pull the wool over their eyes.
Yeah, that was that. And Thor was the strongest, and eventually. Anyway, so it's kind of like Ragnarok. Ragnarok's supposed to be the end of the world, but in this sense, it was kind of the beginning of a new one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. I really like that series, because they've taken what must just be a fairly average production budget.
Yeah.
And they've put superpowers into it without special effects.
That's right.
It's so good. The powers that one person has is shot just through a normal setup of camera gear, I guess, because you look at that from the perspective, right? As an actor, you go, how did they do that? Oh, did they use special effects? Oh, not really. No. They've kept it really simple. It's quite cool.
And the powers, when they push someone through the wall, all they did was like a rope and pull the guy back. So
yeah,
it was pretty easy, but you kind of, at speed, you're going, this is pretty incredible. It's impressive.
Yeah.
So low budget, but they did a really good job.
Shit, it was a good job. And what I like about those characters too is that family moves into town, and they are, I think, in my interpretation of the story, they are the family of the gods who don't know yet that they're gods. They're just people that drove into town. And the sorceress character, that archetype of the mysterious witch who places her hand on his forehead in episode 1, and he becomes this character. She's the local checkout operator at the supermarket.
Yeah, it's great.
So she's just an average person,
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. It's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool, because we're so used to the big budget Hollywood.
That's right.
Special effects.
Ta-da.
Yeah. and then to strip it way back and to bring it back to a more human level, and
it makes it more interesting actually.
Yeah.
Because I think the special effects we have an expectation now. So if it doesn't meet that expectation, you're kind of going, oh yeah, cool. But when you see a low budget thing like this, and you go, oh, that was a good story as well. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, story is everything, isn't it? So yeah.
Mythology, just the word myth. So it's based on some sort of.
Well, it was people trying to make sense of their own morality, values, and also what they couldn't understand.
Yeah, but there's something enamoring. Is that a good word for it? Well, we keep repeating it, and we keep rejuvenating it and telling the story again in different forms, don't we?
Yeah. Well, the stories are great. I mean, like even Māori mythology. The stories around from up north where I come from. They're great stories, you know. People tell them over and over again, and when you tell them, everyone goes quiet. So those sort of stories are always, magic, and how a mountain came to be because of this magic power or whatever. They're great, and as I said, it kind of helps. Back in the day, it was helping people explain the unknown. Or was it the unknown? Was it the unknown, or was it the actual? Was there actually super beings back then, and are they still with us?
Do you know, Blair? You may know the Spirit Highway that runs from the west coast of New Zealand and runs up. Do you know anything about that?
I don't. No, I don't.
Okay.
You mean the one that goes to Cape Reinga? The spirits, and they go.
Yeah.
I thought, was it the west coast? I thought it was Bluff all the way. They had to go. They had to travel through Aotearoa to the Bluff and then come back up, and then they left through Cape Reinga where the spirits left. So they'd say goodbye through the whole of Aotearoa and then came up.
Right.
That was my understanding of it, but it could be the west coast. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe part of the west coast. I had a friend who told me a little bit about that. Yeah, so I just thought maybe you knew.
No.
Yeah.
No, what do you tell? No, I don't know.
No, I mean, maybe the part of it was the west coast, and then I'm speaking of the North Island here in particular. Yeah.
Oh, the west coast.
But I don't know the full journey and the full mythology behind it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it could be that just from where you've your spirit leaves your body, that then it goes through Cape Reinga and leaves.
Yeah.
But I always thought that it travelled the whole of the country to say goodbye and then left. That was but I could be wrong.
I guess it's going to depend if you've got relatives around the country or not, and you need to make those stops.
I've got a few friends. So, Tim Sherbolt down the Bluff. So
I would probably, because I don't have anyone around that region, towards that last leg, I'd probably get a...
You go to Pyro and then back.
Oh, I'd go to Pyro, say goodbye to a few people there, have an LMP, and then I'd probably get a speeding ticket on the highway. And just go, I'm out. Be gone.
How about you, bro? You just go to Philippines and then come back. And go.
Yeah, where would you go? What would you do, Marwin?
I'd go from Auckland all the way to Philippines, and then then out Cape Reinga.
That's all right.
Yeah, it'd be a return trip.
Right, where are you going when you die, Rob? Because we had a clairvoyant on last week, and it's all pretty clear. It's pretty clear to me now. Fuck, it was interesting.
It all depends on what you believe.
Yeah,
right? And that can be confronting, because death is just people think it's a transition. Steve, you just wrote. You just read a book called Journey of Souls.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
that was so good. I'd recommend it to anyone. But I'm into it, right? Like that's how I perceive it is. I mean, it's like me saying, the Bible, so good. I'd recommend it to anyone. Well, that'd be my bias if I was into it, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so this perspective is kind of the view that it takes if you want to look into the possibility of the life we lead between lives here on Earth. And it's really interesting because some people just can't accept it. I mean, I was shout out to Richard, who's a friend of ours, who's currently living in London. He listens to the show, and he mentioned that a couple of things that he said on it that we talked about, he just could not accept. And which
is fine. Yeah,
Richie's a really spiritual dude, actually, and I thought it would be something that he would totally relate to, because he's quite intuitive, right? He's got a real sense for reading people, and but it's just not for everyone to take that view. But I personally think that we plan our lives and have a series of things that we choose. and assessed as challenges for the life that goes ahead.
Right?
A little bit, a little bit. Yeah, and then you get to my view on it is, and it's a beautiful little story. And I like to believe it. It makes me feel good. Is that we get to live our life and then come back and review. So how'd you go with that life? You know, did you do all the things that you thought you could do, or did you waste opportunities? Yeah, wasted a few, I suppose. You know, and you get to review it for yourself, and there's no judgment other than your own, and you can take as long as you like. And I don't think whilst I believe in karma, I don't think that necessarily plays such a huge aspect into our lives as some people think it might. Like, I think for a lot of us, we create the circumstances of our lives within a greater circumstance of what we are limited to. So you can play a great poker game with shitty cards because you played it well, but you were dealt shitty cards. Those cards you can't change. You know, the genetics I have, I can't change, but I could make the most of who I am as a person, or I could choose not to. And sadly, there are a few too many things I choose not to. And so you have to weigh up and go, well, what were you willing to do? What were you prepared to do? And I think those are the challenges of our lives, you know? Yeah.
I'd like to read that book.
Yeah, I actually, I'd love you to read it because I tried to convince Rob to. He wouldn't.
No, because here's the thing, right? I downloaded it on my phone.
Oh, you got it?
I've got it, but I can't read off a phone for too long.
That's right. Yeah, you were saying,
and I can't do it off a laptop. I'm old school. I need a book. To print. And even when I'm learning a script, I need to print it out. I need to write it out.
Yeah.
And if I'm reading I don't know how many 100 pages.
It must have been around 600.
Drives me nuts. So so that's why.
Yeah.
But getting back to the whole, I mean, first of all, he's a hypnotherapist,
and he didn't believe any of this stuff. He didn't. He wasn't into any of it. He just found that he was able to regress people, and there was the stuff that if he questioned into it, patient, or if you can call them patient, client after client would tell him the same things in a hypnotic, out of it state, and he just started documenting it and going, okay, so
you mean,
tell me more.
When you say the same things, do you mean same things as in would talk about other lives? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so there would be a typically similar story, not exactly the same, but being that everyone is in a different place in time and where they die and how they transition into the spirit world and so forth was a little different, but very similar. A lot of guidepost markers in this hypnotherapist, in this clinical hypnotherapist's regression. So he could let me start off. People came to him because they had a pain. And so he was a clinical hypnotherapist that was highly regarded for releasing people from pain. Doctors,
like trauma, emotional trauma or physical trauma. Or?
Let's say physical. Okay. Like let's say you got a pain in your leg, and doctors have MRI'd the crap out of it, and they've looked and tested and studied and gone, "Look, I'm sorry, we can't find anything." Yeah. And so he got a reputation for people who had pain to help them alleviate that pain. And he would do it through hypnotherapy. Well, he would have some success through traditional hypnotherapy techniques and allow yourself not to feel this pain and all this sort of thing. But as he regressed people deeper and deeper into different conscious and subconscious and superconscious states, he was able to take them back in time to when it began and further. And at one point, he slipped back into a time prior to life. And then it was he then took back the person even further from the life that they had prior and from a reincarnation perspective. And as he would take people through in a fast-forwarded state, now tell me where you are later, and now go a bit later and a bit later, they would talk of their journey through as a soul into the spirit world. And often it turned out a lot of the pain that they were having that was medically insignificant, but they felt it and perceived it, came from a previous life injury, which was fascinating. Yeah. But the book soon became nothing to do with his client's pain, but more his exploration and documentation of the lives people lived between lives in the spirit world, the levels in which that they sort of dwelled in, and their family and soul groups that they knew and loved and chose to have lives with, to explore things together. Fuck it. I love it. It's in itself just a great little adventure, and seems harmless enough to be interested by. So I found it really interesting. Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
Because the thing is, not many people have a recollection of a past life.
No.
I mean, I could ask any one of you, what did you do, last night? You can probably remember what you did last night.
Yeah.
But if I said to you, what did you do 2 weeks ago at 3:30 p.m.? Don't know. Unless it was a significant event. You had
unless it was diaried or something.
Yeah, graduation, or you had a car accident or something significant. That's
right.
how we recall memory. There's got to be some sort of imprint. And because I listened to a little Deepak Chopra, he was once asked, like, well, why can't we remember incarnations and past lives? He said, well, the point is exactly that. If you could remember all your past lives, it would interrupt your current life, and you'd have this. It would be too much. You got to focus on this one life.
You'd probably be consumed with vengeance.
You'd have all this recurring and be like, hang on a minute, that's not what I'm here for. So it kind of explained it.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah. It was kind of like, that's interesting. So he didn't dismiss the fact that there were reincarnations in past lives, but it's accessing and obviously, what's his name?
Dr. Michael Newton.
Newton obviously found a way to get into a deeper level of remembrance and consciousness to access that. And if you come from the perspective that there was no beginning or end to your spirit or your soul, then it's just a continuation of your journey. And
that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? It's just all.
That's really interesting too, because when they talk about in that book, the creator, which they referred to, which is a little bit of a Judeo-Christian / New Age belief that someone or something created you.
Yeah.
Then I found that harder to accept, because that's the part of it I'm like, nah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like created. I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
Why
Maybe I just always existed. If physicists in this physical world are going on to say that time is just a construct and it's all relative, and then from a spiritual perspective, all things that ever existed always do and concurrently always have, and that time is more like just moving between one point and another point, and that's traveling time, then you have in a sense always existed even from that perspective. But if from the perspective of multiple lives following concurrently, then you must have either had a creation point a very, very long time ago, or you always existed as a stream of light, or as some sort of energy force. I don't know. That's a really interesting one. Also, the book talked about living parallel existences at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck, that's interesting.
Yep.
Where you are in this life here now doing this thing, but you could also be
And something else.
you could be somewhere in Pakistan doing a very different thing and a very different objective, as your soul splits overseas two existences.
Yeah.
And I just think, well, in this modern day and age, why not? That's even easier to believe than it would have been 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, sliding doors.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
There was a really cool film. I think it was called Another Earth, where another version of you was playing out a totally different life.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the choices you make, and as you say, sliding doors, and it was real fascinating. Yeah. Like, what if?
You see that thinking really breaks the mold of the 4-5 sense reality that it's 5, isn't it? The 5 cent reality. Sense reality that we have, because then you go, oh, what if it was that? I mean, that's like thinking that this is a simulation. Because that breaks it. Like, that's a more commonly held one that people talk about now, that this life is a simulation, where this is a video game, and we're sitting in here, but some of the people we know out in the world could be non-player characters, and
it's because we're in a very, very technological age.
Yeah.
Where we have access to so much, obviously the internet and artificial intelligence, and you can immerse yourself in a totally virtual reality world. So it stands to reason that if you come from that perspective, that this reality could be a virtual reality, or a hologram, or a holographic reality, or whatever, Yeah.
Because it stands to reason. Or a different reality. But it stands to reason, because now we've seen holograms, because now we've seen different things. But prior to seeing a hologram, or having seen that on Star Wars, communicating as a hologram from R2-D2 to another person, prior to those technological advances, that idea would have been crazy. But so I think we are also at the point where it's crazy to think that we could be living simultaneous existences at at this, concurrently, presently, let alone the simultaneous existence of a past life being lived out as a future life is lived out. Let alone that, because of time is the kind of construct that it is. It depends at which point you place yourself. With those two happening at the same time is no different to two happening at the actual same time.
That's right.
Yeah. But, that blows my mind.
Yeah. Then there's the dimension theory, that's going to, like, for example, we're this dimension.
Right.
And when we pass, or we go to the next stage, or we lose this shell, and we go into an energy type we go into that dimension. And that dimension can never land on that plane in its entirety. But you go to that dimension because that's the dimension that holds our spirit and our light, or the source. Yeah. But that's the place that you go to. But every now and then it touches, and you sense it, and you feel it, but we can only see it.
Just a fraction of it.
We can only see it just like this. But there is a whole new dimension out there which carries where we go to in terms of, our afterlife, or, the energy that is us without our flesh.
Yeah. So you're saying a spiritual realm.
Well,
so you were
either
informed here.
Or a realm or another dimension. Or a light universe, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Because there's nothing to say that it's not. I mean, that people would perceive that it's being realm or heaven or whatever, but it could be just another universe that we don't understand.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me of a guy who explained that once. For those of you listening, because no one's watching, Blair was holding his hand out as a plane with a fist above it.
Yeah.
And there was a guy who explained that on Brian Cox?
Brian Cox, yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
And that's where I got it from. And I thought, that's interesting. The reason why I say that, because I had an interesting experience with my auntie I was very close with. And I felt like she was passing, and then when I had this dream, and she had this beautiful warm glow around her, and I put my arms around her, and all I could feel was her warm glow.
Wow.
And she was quite ill. And I woke up the next morning, and it was 2011. I was doing nothing trivial, and I said to Mum, I've got to go and see her. And she said, no, she's fine. We've just moved her into one of the homes in Glendowie, which was St Andrews. And so I went to see her. I said, no, Mum, I've got to go. And sure enough, she passed in front of me, right?
Wow.
So she was trying to call out, I believe that, that she was trying to call out and she needed family to be with her. And I was the one who received it through that energy source. So she used that source to come in. And then when she passed, and we had a beautiful funeral in Tangi up north, and, my Steele and I and my brother, we dug the grave, and we all spoke for a couple of days and ate on the marae and stuff for that. Then about 3 or 4 months later, she came back in this beautiful orange glow, the same glow, and she was dressed just beautifully, had a big smile on her face, and then she just looked at me, and then she walked off. And I just knew that she was all right. And
she was really happy with what you did.
Yeah, I knew that her energy, whatever it had transformed into, because I don't believe energy ever stops. Then whatever it transformed to was in a good place. I was very satisfied.
When you say she came back a few months later, what was that experience like?
It was in a dream. So the same thing.
In a dream.
But
right.
It was the same dream that I had to get there. Was the same dream, the same energy, which I've never ever felt before.
Wow.
Never. Not but it was her calling out, and then it was her letting me know that she was all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's really
that's awesome.
special.
Yeah.
I haven't had that before.
Wow. I mean,
that's what got me starting, just starting to think about, energy, parallel universes, because I experienced it, and I experienced her dying in front of me. It was the first time I actually had someone who literally was breathing, was listening to me, and some nurse came in and said, "Oh, you're from Shulman Street," and I said, "Yeah," and some of that. And then she was waking up, blah, 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 and I could see her, and then I saw her literally pass, and like her body went from there, open, and you must have gone through this as well.
I did.
And then, boom, left, and just, I don't know if you've all experienced that, but it was whoa. But yeah, that whole experience was quite beautiful, really. I'm sure that she probably didn't want to go through the actual death part of it again, but it was quite a beautiful moment.
No, that's the tough part about dying, is the dying bit, because then afterwards I'm imagining it's, not so bad. But when my mother passed away...
Let's go to a few of those.
Yeah. When my mother... Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the wine, bro. It's nice.
When you're dying.
When she passed away, she was looking right into my eyes, and I was holding her hand, and and Bridget was there, and Rachel was there, and a lady from the rest home who'd become a good friend of hers was there, and each one of us had a hand on her, like touching her foot or on her leg, and she's labouring her breathing, and wow, she just looked right through me, looked at me, and went like she could see something. She's and she was looking. I was like, wanting to be there for her, but she just looked at me and then threw me into the distance. I like to think she could see a light at the end of the tunnel or something. Like there was something opening up for her, because in that moment it was both horrific to know that your mother was dying, but also nice to know that it was amazing what she was seeing, because the look on her face was suddenly very wide-eyed and, oh my goodness, like, wow. And I would love to know what she saw. Yeah. It was kind of interesting. And, of course, incredibly emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful ceremony, though.
Oh, that's kind.
Yeah.
How about you, Marwin? Have you experienced anything of that nature? Or
Never. I've never had anyone close to me die. No, never.
Well, you're still very young.
Yeah. I don't look forward to that day.
Yeah. Of
To
course.
someone that I know really well
Yeah.
passing. Yeah.
I don't know if it's not coping with grief or if it's coping with it really well. But my philosophy to help me through was to accept it and to use the phrase, it's okay, mum's gone interdimensional now. She's not gone, she's gone interdimensional.
Yeah.
She's on another level.
Yeah.
And that really helped me, because otherwise I'm going to only view it as loss. I'm only going to be like, she's gone. But I really don't think she is.
No.
Yeah. I'm really keen to know, especially from you, Marwin, because you have some amazing stories from your childhood that you've told us in the past on the show. But were there any interesting stories that your parents told you? Bullshit or otherwise? Well, from any of us, actually. But Marwin, if you've got any, putting you on the spot, bro.
Oh, I remember. I don't know. I remember my father when there was a red moon, and I'll always remember this. That red moon was huge, and I'm staring at it, and my father would make up stories that there would be a witch that would be circling it, and if I was a bad boy, it would come over and come get me. And that was always at times where my school reports weren't doing that good. Now that I look back on hindsight,
Really?
yeah. So he would always bring something that was outside of what I could make sense to try put me back on the right path.
Funny.
That's really good. What about you, Rob? Did you ever have stories that your parents told you?
No, nothing nothing springs to mind. Yeah.
Do you remember your father very well? Because you were young when he he died, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't that young.
Were you not?
Well, okay, so yeah, it was 2001.
Was it 2001?
2001, yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a little while ago. I mean,
It's not as young as I thought. Yeah.
So not
No.
like I was a young kid or something.
Yeah.
But I do remember his presence. I think have I mentioned this before on the podcast? I think.
Well, tell us again anyway.
Yeah. He used to do this thing where he would stroke my hair, right? And it was I guess sometime after he'd passed, and it was a bit like your experience, Blair. It came to me in a dream, but it felt very real, and I knew his presence was there. That kind of his way of saying everything's okay and everything's going to be all right. And then, funny enough, I know I felt like he had this hand in play here with this girlfriend that I met because I was away doing this promotional tour, and we were sort of in the Coromandel at a bed and breakfast, and I felt his presence again there.
Cool.
That he was setting something up. It was weird. I thought, well, this is weird, and we did get together and have this experience. But it felt like he had, from the realm, the afterlife,
had orchestrated.
I felt that because it felt
what a dude.
Yeah, and I never forget that. And so I'm a believer in the whole as you say. The thing is, I mean, I think we've got to reframe the word die, because it's just there's a process. Things come to an end, but the energy,
it could be a beginning.
Yeah, but it could be and there's a constant. There's an energy. There's something that is just that you can't destroy energy.
That's right. Absolutely. That's right. Yeah, it's just a transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was a couple of profound moments. Yeah.
What did you once tell me, Blair, about looking out over sacred ground that was a burial site and your feeling of it?
Oh, yeah, because I get these things. But I was working as a Māori land lawyer, and we were doing the Aokini Treaty land claims, and we had to go and visit some of the hapu in Taumanui. And so I was a young lawyer then, and I'll never forget, you take your shoes off when you're in the wharenui, which is the meeting house. And I left my shoes at the back, and then I came the back way for some reason. And then I went back out again. We'd finished the meeting, and all of a sudden I felt this just beautiful energy come across me, and I was going, what is that? What the hell was that? And I looked over, and there was their urupa, and I went, oh, yeah, all right, cool. That's what it is.
And the urupa is what?
The funeral. Sorry, the funeral, the cemetery.
The cemetery.
Yeah, cemetery.
It's really sacred ground, right?
Yeah. So I get those things every now and then.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so we got a great story for our maunga, which is called Mount Manaia. I don't know if you know Mount Manaia, but if you're coming over the Brenduans into the north, there is this mountain, Whangarei Heads, and it's called Mount Manaia. And you can walk up it, and there's like 5 rocks at the top. There's 2 big ones and 3 little ones. And then there's a 6th rock hanging out on the side, right? And it's the story of Manaia, the chief Manaia, and we got told this as kids. And it was, and basically it was a story about this chief who was an arrogant chief, and he was a womanizer, but he was a great chief. And he came home and found his wife sleeping with the slave, because she was left alone, and he wasn't so great to her. And so he turned the children and the wife into stone, hence the rocks, threw the slave over the top, turned him into stone, and in his grief he turned him into stone.
Himself into
stone. Huh. So yeah. And that was our first case as Māori as for domestic violence. But so no, I'm joking. I'm just kidding.
I was like,
what?
No. But like,
for real?
that's the mythical story.
It's
a good story.
Yeah.
But if you see the rocks there,
I think you showed me.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's a view from your place.
That's right.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, guys,
thank you.
It's been nice having you here.
Yeah, we're all a bit tired, but we don't.
We are a bit tired, and you get that way when you've been going back-to-back rehearsals, and
it's Friday,
and you've got a weekend of rehearsals ahead of you.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
I hope people who listen, because we've got a core group of people who do listen, I hope they get a chance to come along and see the show. So I'm going to mention the website. It's HGAF, because that stands for Hamilton Gardens Arts Festival. .co.nz, so hgaf.co.nz, and you can search through there for the Morning Star link, which is our show for Marwin, myself, Blair, and great group of actors who are putting on Morning Star, which is about the archangels in heaven and an alternate view of how hell began. God's been missing for a year, and it's both entertaining and frightening at the same time. So check that out, guys. Thanks for tuning in, listening as you always do, and we'll see you again next week on Reality Hub.